welcome. We are discussing about process synchronization. In the last lecture, we have discussed if multiple processes were allowed to access the shared data variable concurrently, then it will lead to a problem called data inconsistency. So we have discussed that with an example using producer-consumer relationship where there is a common shared variable counter which is getting incremented by the producer and it get decremented by the consumer. So we have shown like how it created data, how it may create data inconsistency when when these two processes were executing concurrently. This problem, whatever we have discussed in the previous lecture, this problem is called as race condition. This problem is called as race condition. Why it is called as race condition? It is called as race condition because the final value of the counter is decided by the instruction which executes at last. If S5, if this instruction, if this instruction executes at last, then counter will end up with 4. If this instruction executes at last, then counter will end up with 6. So because of that, this is called as race condition. Okay. So whichever the instruction executes at last, that will decide the value of the counter. So this is called as this. So this data inconsistent state. Uh, what is the value, final value of the shared variable? That will be depending on which instruction executes at last. So that concept is called as race condition. Okay, and the code which creates data inconsistency. So here the data inconsistency is basically created by this code counter plus plus and counter minus minus. But when it is getting executed, counter plus plus is again converted into 3 different statements, and counter minus minus is converted to some other 3 different statements. Okay, so basically this is the code which is creating data inconsistency. Okay, this is the code in the consumer process which creates data inconsistency, and this is the code in the producer process that creates data inconsistency. Okay, so the part of the code in a particular process which may create data inconsistency, that part of the code is called as critical section. That part of the code is called as critical section. So this is a critical section for the producer process, and this is a critical section for the consumer process. Okay, so the part of the code which creates data inconsistency is called as the critical. Yeah, the part of the code which creates inconsistent result in a particular, which may create inconsistent result, the part of the code which may create inconsistent result in a particular process is called as critical section. Okay, and if one process is executing its critical section, then the other process should not be allowed to execute its critical section to ensure consistency. Okay, so that is what we are going to discuss next. Okay, so how consistency can be ensured in the sense, if process P1 is executing its critical section, then no other process should execute its critical section. By ensuring this condition, data consistency can be maintained. Okay, so that is what we'll be discussing in this lecture. So first we'll be discussing about critical section. So, so, so if there are n process, consider a system of n process, P1, P0, P1, P2, P3 up to Pn minus 1. Okay. Assume there are n processes, P0, P1, P2, P3 up to Pn minus 1. And let us assume each process has its own critical section. All the process has its own critical section. That is they are going to access the shared variable during in the critical section. Okay, then if one process is in the critical section, then no other process should be in the critical section. If one process is in the critical section, then no other process should be allowed to be in the critical section. Okay, this will ensure that the data is consistent. Okay, and a critical section, typically a critical section code will be preceded by an entry section. The code that precedes the typical critical section code, we'll call it as entry section. So in this entry section, the process will be checking, like, is there any other process is currently in the critical section or not. If some other process is in the critical section, then this process will not enter into critical section. It will keep on waiting. It will keep on waiting until that process comes out of critical section. Okay. If no other process is in the critical section, then it will enter into the critical section. Okay. So this checking will be done in the entry section. If there are currently no processes in its critical section, then this process will enter the critical section and it will perform the task which is specified in the critical section. Then it will come to the exit section. In the exit section, it will ensure that this process has completed executing the critical section, and also it will make sure that some other process can now enter into critical section. So that part of the code will be executed in the exit section part. Okay, and the code that follows the critical section is called as reminder section. That is, it is not a critical section code. Okay, so this is how a typical critical section code will look like. So that is given here. So normally this is how a critical section of process PI appears. So there is a do while loop which is a infinite loop. Inside that there is an entry section. This entry section checks whether any other process is currently in the critical section or not. If some other process is in the critical section, then it will be keep waiting. It will not enter into critical section. If no other processes are in the critical section, then this process PI will enter into the critical section. It will execute the code corresponding to the critical section. Once the critical section is finished, it will execute the exit section, where it will make sure that some other waiting process can now enter into critical section. So after executing the exit section, it will execute the reminder section, okay, which is not a part of the critical section. Fine. So now let us discuss the solution to the problem of critical section. Okay. So this is a generic solution to the problem of critical section. So what is critical section? Critical section is that part of the code in which a process is going to access the shared variable, and when the process is accessing the shared variable, no other process should execute its critical section. If some other process is also running its critical section at the same time, then there is a highly likely then it is highly likely that the data may get inconsistent. Okay, or it may lead to a race condition. Data inconsistency is otherwise called as race condition. So how to avoid that? How to avoid that? How to overcome the problem of uh, this issue? So that's what we are going to discuss here with an example. So consider, so this is how we can ensure that the critical section, the only one process is currently in the critical section and no other process are in the critical section. So if there are two processes, say PI and PJ, there are two processes PI and PJ, and they are sharing some common variable, and they are sharing some common variable X. So if PI is executing its critical section, then PJ should not execute its critical section. Similarly, if PJ is executing its critical section, then PI should not execute its critical section. If this is ensured, then X will not become inconsistent. X will be always consistent. Okay. So how to ensure that? That's what we are going to discuss with this algorithm. So this is the algorithm for PI. So PI, what it checks in the sense, it first checks whether it is the turn of J or not, while turn equal to J. So this is I, process I checks whether it is jth turn or not. So if it is jth turn, then it is keep on waiting. It is not entering the critical section. Okay, it won't enter into the critical section. Okay, if it is, so if it is not jth turn, if it is not jth turn, okay, if it is not jth turn, then then turn will be equal to I. There are only two processes, either I or j. If turn is equal to j, then it will keep on wait. If this is not jth turn, then this turn will be equal to I, or turn not equal to j. Then it will enter into critical section. It will execute the critical section and it will again make turn equal to j. So this is the entry section. In entry section, it checks whether is it the other processes turn or not. If it is other processes turn, it is waiting. If it is not other processes turn, it enters and it executes the critical section. And this is the exit section. In exit section, what it is doing, it is saying that I have completed now executing critical section. Now it is jth turn. Now j can continue like that. It is making turn equal to j. Then it executes the remainder section. Okay. So this is the algorithm for process Pi. Similarly, if you see the algorithm for process Pj, what it checks in the sense whether currently is it the turn of I or not. So I'm j, so I'm checking whether it is ith turn or not. If it is ith turn, then I will wait. That is j will wait. If it is ith turn, then j will wait. It won't enter into critical section. So this is entry section. So this is entry section. So here process j checks whether it is ith turn or not. If it is ith turn, then it won't enter into the critical section. Okay. If it is not ith turn, in this case there are only two processes. There is I and j. So if it is not ith turn, then obviously it is jth turn. So it will enter and it will execute the critical section. After finishing the critical section, then it will execute this exit section. Okay. In exit section, what it does in the sense, it makes turn equal to I. It makes turn equal to I. Okay. So it means now next the process I will execute. Then comes the remainder section. Okay. So this is the code corresponding to process I and j, which ensures that the data, the shared data can be accessed without creating any inconsistent, or that shared data will be consistent. Okay. This is a very simple algorithm. So it has its own drawback. Okay. So it obviously it solves the problem of what you call, it solves the problem of data inconsistency, because if you follow this algorithm, it ensures that the data will be consistent. Okay. But it has some issues. What are the issues in the sense? See, it is it is achieving something called as mutual exclusion. This mutual exclusion is a key term in the context of process synchronization. Okay. So what is mutual exclusion? Mutual exclusion in the sense, if one process is in the critical section, then no other process should be in the critical section. So that concept is called as mutual exclusion. Okay. So if process X is in the critical section, then no other process should be allowed to be in its critical section. Okay. So that is called as mutual exclusion. So this algorithm achieves mutual exclusion. Okay. Because if I is executing critical section, then J won't execute critical section. If J is executing critical section, then I won't execute critical section. Okay. But the drawback of this algorithm is it strictly follows this order. That is, first I executes, then J executes, then I executes, then J executes, then I executes, and then J executes. It keep on goes this way. It strictly follows this order. Okay. Okay, that is I first enters the critical section. So it can be either ij or ji, but it follows that order. Okay. If I first enters the critical section, then it makes j as the next turn. Okay, then it makes j as the next turn, and then j is forced to enter the critical section. Even if j don't want to enter the critical section, now j is forced to enter the critical section. Then j makes I as the next to use the critical section. And even if I don't want to enter the critical section, I is forced to enter the critical section. Okay. So this is the problem with this particular algorithm. That is it strictly follows this order, that first I should execute the critical section, then J, then I, then J, or it follows JI, that order. Okay. That is, it is not that every process always want to enter the critical section. Sometimes some process may not also want to enter the critical section. but here that is not allowed, because when I comes out it makes j equal to 1. Okay, it makes turn equal to j, which means in the next round j has to enter the critical section. Okay, so that is the drawback with this particular algorithm. Okay, but obviously it solves the core problem, which is to ensure that data consistency. Okay. Okay, then let us discuss what are the, if you propose a solution to a critical section problem, then what should be the characteristics of the solution. When we propose a solution for a critical section problem, what should be the characteristics of the problem? How should we ensure that that solution is complete? So whenever we propose a solution to the critical section problem, we should ensure that three conditions are satisfied. These are, the first one is mutual exclusion. So already we defined mutual exclusion. Mutual exclusion means the solution should ensure that if one process is in the critical section, then no other process should be executing its critical section. Okay. If one process is executing its critical section, then no other process should execute its critical section. Okay. So if this condition is satisfied, then it means that the algorithm is mutually exclusive. The second condition is progress. The second condition is progress. What is meant by progress? Progress means if currently no processes are in the critical section, if currently no processes are in the critical section, okay, and if one process want to enter the critical section, and if one process want to enter the critical section, then the decision to decide whether the process should be allowed to enter the critical section or not should not be postponed indefinitely. That is called as progress. Okay. Currently, if no process is in the critical section, and now if one process want to enter the critical section, then the decision to make whether the process should enter the critical section or not, that should not be progressed indefinitely. If it is progressed indefinitely, then it will lead to a problem called starvation. Okay. So that is, if some process is waiting for the critical section, then it should get access to the critical section in a reasonable amount of time. That is what is called as progress. And the third condition is bounded waiting. What is bounded waiting? Bounded waiting in the sense, let us assume, start with a small example. Assume there are two processes, P0 and P1. Assume there are two processes, P0 and P1. Say both of them want to enter the critical section. Okay, both of them want to enter the critical section at the same time. So any one of them will initially get. Okay, so assume initially P0 enters the critical section. P0 enters the critical section. Okay, so it enters the critical section. So I'll call it a CS. It enters the critical section and then it comes out. After coming out also again P0 once. So P0 already executed critical section once and it came out of the critical section. After coming out also, once again P0 wants the critical section. So now also again P0 wants and P1 wants. Okay, now the algorithm should ensure that the critical section, in the second time it should go to P1. It should not be immediately again given to P0. Okay, okay, once then P1 completed, say after, then say assume that again P1 now executes critical section. Okay, after that again coming out of critical section, then immediately P1 also want to enter the critical section. So now also again P0 and P1 is waiting. Now the algorithm should ensure that the critical section was given to P0. It is not to P1. Okay, so this is called as bounded waiting. This is called as bounded waiting. So this we can generalize. That is, if there are n processes waiting to enter the critical section, if there are n processes waiting to enter the critical section, and if currently process Pi comes out of critical section, and if it immediately wants the critical section again, then it should not be allowed to enter the critical section. Okay, it should not be allowed to enter the critical section unless all the remaining n minus 1 processes were entered the critical section. Okay, So the remaining n minus 1 process should enter the critical section, and then only a PI should get a chance. Okay. So this is called as bounded waiting. And also bounded waiting should ensure the order. Bounded waiting should ensure the order. Say for example, three processes are waiting for critical section in this order: P0, P1, P2. Okay, four processes are there: P2, P3. All these are waiting for critical section. Okay, say currently there is some process PI. It is in the critical section. It is waiting. It is executing the critical section. So this PI is in the critical section. It is executing its critical section. As PI is executing its critical section, these processes are waiting. All these P0, P1, P2, and P3 are waiting. So now PI comes out of the critical section. PI comes out of the critical section. That is, now it is in the remainder section. PI comes out of the critical section. Now this is the order. First P0 came waiting for critical section, then P1 came, then P2, then P3. Then they should get in this order. First, who should be allowed to go to critical section means first P0 should be allowed to go to critical section. Okay. Once P0 completes, then P1 should be allowed to go to critical section. Then P2, then P3. Okay. So after P3, again if PI wants, then PI should get a chance. Okay. So this is called as bounded waiting. This is called as bounded waiting. That is, if a process enters the critical section now, and if it again wants it immediately, then it should wait until all the remaining process got the critical section. After that only this process should be allowed to go into the critical section. And also bounded waiting condition should ensure that the processes are allowed to enter the critical section in what order they came, or in what order they are waiting for the critical section. Okay. If this is not guaranteed, again what will happen in the sense, some process may wait for a long period of time, and again that may lead to a problem called starvation. Okay. Because if you are not ensuring bounded waiting, then it may lead to a problem called starvation. Okay. So to ensure that there is no starvation, the solution to a critical section problem should satisfy these three conditions: mutual exclusion, progress, and bounded waiting. Mutual exclusion means at a given time only one process should be in the critical section, and progress means the decision whether a process should enter a critical section or not, that should not be postponed indefinitely. And bounded wait in the sense, if a process currently comes out of critical section and again if it wants to get into critical section, and if some other processes are waiting for the critical section, then until all the other processes completes going into the critical section, this process should wait. And the process should go into the critical section in what order they arrive, or in what order they were waiting for the critical section. Okay. So any solution for critical section should ensure these things. Okay. So that's it about this particular session. So basically, okay. Before completing, I'll just want to say this also. So if you take a typical operating system kernel, there are a lot of concurrent process will be going on. So there will be many concurrent process will be executing at the same time, and this process will be maybe sharing a common shared variable also. Okay. And kernel processes are generally classified into two categories. One is preemptive kernel process, the other one is non-preemptive kernel process. Okay, non-preemptive kernel process means once they get the CPU, they won't leave the CPU. This process, once the CPU is allotted to the kernel process, these processes will not give up the CPU until they go into IO wait, or until they terminate, or until they voluntarily give up. Whereas preemptive process can be preempted in between. If there is any interrupt or any other request come to the operating system, then this process can be preempted. Okay. Now the problem of race condition can occur with preemptive process. Okay. Problem of race condition, that is data inconsistency problem, can occur with preemptive processes. Okay. These non-preemptive processes are free from race conditions. Non-preemptive processes are free from race conditions, but typically most of the processes were preemptive process. Okay, because you cannot allow the processor to indefinitely run a process. for a long period of time, that may lead to other issues. Okay. So in a kernel, most of the process will be preemptive process. It will not be non-preemptive process. So that's what about. So when a preemptive process is executing, it should ensure that the, the consistency is maintained and the processes are executed following mutual exclusion principle. So basically in this lecture we have discussed many important definitions like what is meant by race condition. So the problem of data inconsistency that is created is called as race condition because the final value of the shared variable depends on the final task which is executed. Okay, so the final statement which executes that will decide the value of the shared variable or the common variable. So that concept is called as race condition. Okay, and the part of the code which may create data inconsistency, that part of the code is called as critical section. And to avoid data inconsistency, the operating system should ensure that no two processes were running the critical were running its critical section at the same time. That is, if one process is executing its critical section, then other process should not be allowed to enter the critical section. So this concept is called as mutual exclusion. That is, if process PI is in its critical section, then all other process should wait. It should not enter into the critical section. So this condition is called as mutual exclusion. Okay, and then we discussed a small solution to ensure data consistency. And then we have discussed what are the if you want to propose a solution for if you want to propose a solution for critical section problem, then what are the conditions to be satisfied? So basically there are three conditions: mutual exclusion, progress, and bounded weight. Mutual exclusion means if one process is in the critical section, then other process should not be allowed to enter the critical section. Progress means no process should be, if no process are in the critical section and if some process want to enter the critical section, then they should not be, the decision whether the process should be allowed to enter the critical section or not should not be postponed indefinitely. And bounded waiting should ensure that a process which which currently comes out of critical section again gets the critical section only after other waiting processes has got the critical section. Okay, so that's it. We'll stop the session here. Thank you.